Hi, third grade students and families. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Week 7, Lesson 1 for April 27th to May 1st. This video is to support schools using the Bridges Math program. My name is Miss Greenwood, and I'm so excited to multiply with you today. Materials that will support our learning will include pencils and scrap paper. Let's go. Objective. Students will use what they know about place value to find multiples of 10 in order to solve problems efficiently. Let's talk about what we mean by place value. Place value is the value of a digit based on its place or position in a number. For example, let's discuss the number 957. The digit 7 is in the ones place and has a value of 7. The digit 5 is in the tens place and has a value of 5 tens or 50. The digit 9 is in the hundreds place and has a value of 900. We're going to use place value knowledge to help us find multiples of 10. A multiple is a number that is the product of a given whole number and any other whole number. So let's talk about multiples of 10, for example. Here we're seeing equal groups of 10. One group of 10 or 1 times 10 gives us a product of 10. Two groups of 10 or 2 times 10 equals a product of 20. Three groups of 10 or 3 times 10 equals a product of 30. 10, 20, and 30 are all multiples of 10. This is going to help us solve problems efficiently using mental math. Learn about it. Same but different. How are these two images the same but different? Take some time to think about it. Turn and talk to share ideas if someone is nearby. Then record your ideas on paper. We will continue shortly. We know that both of the images are the same but different. They are the same because equal groups of an amount are being shown in both images, but the amount in each group is different. Let's discuss the image on the left. We can think of this image as 3 times 4, or 3 equal groups of 4 objects each. This model shows why 3 times 4 is equal to 12. Now let's discuss the image on the right. It is similar to 3 times 4, but instead of 3 groups of 4, we have 3 groups of 40. Each group has 4 tens or rods instead of 4 units or ones. We can think of this image as 3 times 40, or 3 equal groups of 40 each. So the product here would be 12 tens or 120. Multiplication can be thought of as creating a certain number of equal groups of another amount. We will use the Math Learning Center app Number Pieces to model the relationship between basic multiplication facts and multiplying with a factor that is a multiple of 10. To get us started, you will click on the number pieces link to access this website. Once you're here, you will open the web app. When the app opens, you will notice a beautiful whiteboard space where you can record your thinking. Over on the left, we have place value models that you can use to represent various amounts. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can even color code these place value models. For our lesson today, we will be using units as ones, rods as tens, and you have vertical and horizontal rods that you can select from. And the red model, the flats, will represent hundreds. Down at the bottom, you also have various tools that you can select, and if you hover over each of the icons, it will let you know what the tool will do. For our purposes today, we will be using this tool here to join pieces. We will also use the drawing tool or pencil, and we will also use the duplicate tool. So to get us started, we're thinking about 60 times 3. So I'm going to use the models to show the basic fact, 6 times 3, to help us get started with thinking about finding the product of 60 times 3 using mental math. So over here, I'm going to get 6 units. So I'm making a group of 6 units right now. I'm just putting them together, 5 and 6. And so if I hold down my mouse and I kind of just circle like this, you'll notice that all the units light up blue to show that they're all been selected. So this is where I'll go to my duplicate button and I will duplicate that group. And then I'm going to duplicate it one more time. Because what I wanted to show with the models was 3 groups of 6 or 3 times 6. So when we're thinking about these models, whether using the app or if these are models that we can visualize in our head, we're thinking about 6 plus 6 plus 6. And we're trying to find that product, which you may be able to use mental math and you have it mastered in your head. 3 times 6 equals 18. So we're going to use this knowledge of this basic fact to now think about 3 groups of 60, or 60 times 3. So I'm going to unselect the drawing tool, and I'm going to go back to my models here. This time I'm going to use tens, or rods. So now I'm going to make 3 groups of 6 tens, or 60. So now I have one group of 60 or 6 tens. Now I'm going to hold down my mouse and get these all together. They've all lit up blue, so I know I can now duplicate them. So there's my second group of 60 and my third group of 60. So now these models are now showing 3 groups of 60 or 3 times 60. And just like in the model below, I can think of this as 60 plus 60 plus 60. Now, when we're looking at 3 times 60, we may notice that 60 is a multiple of 10. And so if we're thinking about our basic fact, 3 times 6, and how that equals 18, this can help us in thinking about the product of 3 times 60. So 60 plus 60 plus 60 will give us a product of not 18 ones, but 18 tens, or 180. What do you notice about this next set of multiplication problems. Look closely at the factors here. Are you noticing that we have a factor of 2 in all of the problems here? And then if you look at the other factor, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, these are all multiples of 10. So we're going to use our knowledge of place value, multiples of 10, and basic facts to find these products using mental math. So let's look at the first problem in the first row starting on the left, 10 times 2. We can think of this as two groups of 10. How many tens is that all together? 2 tens. 2 tens is the same as 20. 10 times 2 gives us a product of 20. Let's move on to the next one. 20 times 2. Two groups of 20. How many tens is that all together? 2 tens plus 2 tens gives me 4 tens. So 20 times 2 gives me a product of 40. 30 times 2. Two equal groups of 3 tens each. 30 plus 30 gives me a product of 60. 40 times 2. Two equal groups of 4 tens or 40. 40 times 2 gives me a product of 80. 50 times 2. Two equal groups of 50. 50 plus 50 gives me an answer of 100. So let's think about now some basic facts that maybe could help us figure out these products because we're working with a factor that is a multiple of 10. So when we look at 60 times 2, let's think first, two groups of 6 ones. Two groups of 6 ones would give me 12. So if I have two groups of 6 tens or 60, that would give me 12 tens or 120. 70 times 2. Well, 2 times 7 gives me a product of 14. So two groups of 7 tens or 70 would give me a product of 14 tens or 140. Two groups of 80, 80 times 2 gives me a product of 160. Two groups of 90 or two groups of 9 tens gives me 18 tens or 180. Two groups of 100, 100 plus another 100, that would give me an answer of 200. Great job. Our next problem, now we're noticing that we're working with amounts or factors in the thousands. So the thinking is still going to be the same. We're going to have two equal groups, but this time we're going to have two equal groups of 1,000. So 1,000 plus another 1,000 would give us 2,000. Here we have 10,000 times 2. So two equal groups of 10,000. Well, if I have two groups of 10, that would give me 20. So if I have two equal groups of 10,000, I'm going to get 20,000. Our last problem, 100,000 times 2. If I have two equal groups of 100, I would have 200. So if I have two equal groups of 100,000, I would get an answer of 200,000. 400 times 6. In other words, 6 equal groups of 400. Let's think about our basic fact of 4 times 6 equaling 24, or 6 groups of 4 equaling 24 ones. Let's create a group of 400. 100, 200, 300, 400. One group of 400. Now let's get 6 groups of 400. How many hundreds do we have altogether? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Oh, so if 6 groups of 4 ones gives me 24 ones, then 6 groups of 4 hundreds will equal 2400 or 2400. Okay, so now we're going to try this super duper challenge problem. 400 times 11, or 11 groups of 400. So 11 is a pretty big factor here. So I'm going to decompose this 11 into friendlier numbers. So instead of thinking of this as 11 groups of 400, I'm going to think of this as one group of 400 plus 10 groups of 400. So we're going to first find out what one group of 400 would equal, and then 10 groups of 400. And that's going to help us get that product a little bit quicker. So one group of 400, which I have pictured here, would give us a product of 400. Now, if one group of 400 equals 400, when we think about 10 groups of 400, ready? Here they come. So here's our 10 groups of 400. So literally we have 10 groups of 400s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36. We have 40 hundreds here. Another way we can say 40 hundreds would be 4,000. So if one group of 400 equals 400 and 10 groups of 400 equals 4,000, we now know what 11 groups of 400 would equal. It would be 400 plus 4,000, which gives us a product of 4,400 or 44 hundreds. Woo, thanks for your help. Woohoo! Now it's time to try it. Complete page 231, number 3, as you think about the examples we practiced today. Until next time, third graders, stay safe and stay connected.